Alright, I want to quickly cover a formula here called sum product. And what the sum product formula does is multiply corresponding cells from multiple arrays and return the sum of the products. That probably sounds like complete gibberish. It's a little complicated to describe in words, but realistically it's not that bad once you understand what it's doing. So first, the syntax is actually quite simple. You just list out the arrays that you want to take the sum product of. Typically these are entire columns. Note that all your arrays have to have the same dimensions here. But to look at an example, let's say I've got a very simple data set here, just 3 products along with quantities and prices. If I want to take the total revenue for all my data, all my products, I could go row by row and say, let's calculate the revenue for apples, 2 times 50 cents. Revenue for bananas, 4 times $1. Orange is 3 times 80 cents. And then add those product level revenues to get my total of $7.40. Sum product does the same thing, just in one step. So if I take the sum product of column B, quantity, and column C, price, it's doing that exact same process. It's calculating products row by row and then summing the results to get the same value. So sum product is often used with filters. So that was a simple example, but sometimes you might want to say take the sum product, but only in cases where this column takes on a certain value. To do that, you can just replace your array reference with the array reference followed by an equal sign followed by what you want to filter on. So in this case, I want to filter where column A only equals SHAs. And you can write it just like the normal formula. The only difference, and this is a weird little nuance with Excel, is that if you don't have a filter, you separate your arrays with commas. If you do have a filter, you separate your arrays with multiplication signs. And you can add as many filters as you want here. In this last example, I'm filtering or taking a sum product only where column A equals SHAs and column B equals apple. And then when those two are true, it's also multiplying column C and D. So one kind of peek under the hood to understand how it's really working is to compare how you see the data versus how Excel is interpreting the data. So anytime you've got a filter here, it's essentially a logical test that Excel evaluates behind the scenes. So when I say A2 through A17 equals SHAs, that gets translated on the back end into a series of zeros and ones, where it's a 0 if my test is false, so if the store does not equal SHAs, and a 1 if my test is true. Same deal with column B. So if I have B equals apple, it's going to look like a 1 every time the product is apple, a 0 otherwise. And again, you don't actually see these ones and zeros. This is just kind of how Excel is doing the math behind the scenes. So if we were to have a sum product formula like this, which is taking the sum product of A times B times C times D, as you can see, only rows that satisfy all conditions or all filters will produce a non-zero sum, because as soon as one of my filters fails, I'm going to get a 0 in that row, which is going to make the entire row 0 out or be excluded from the sum. So basically that's how the filter's working behind the scenes. And that's sum product in a nutshell.